So after trying to be in his children's life for I don't know how many years.
I think we're going on 9 years.
9 years. Eventually, he moved from Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
Was that just for his own sanity?
It was for his own sanity. It was to give the children a chance at life, without the
drama that
all the drama,
yeah.
all the mess, and anytime there was court date, that would put the children on edge.
Right.
Which I never thought that they should even know that anybody had court that day.
Right.
But that's just me. But regardless, it was to give the children a life, but to let him try to grow and build the perfect place for his children to come to when he got the right to see his kids.
Oh, God, I did not understand that. I talked with Kash at one of these events up near Washington, D.C., and because I did not know anything about Colby, honestly, at the time, but he told me, because Kash said that when he was negotiating with his first wife about his son,
Mm-hmm.
that basically he transferred his military educational benefits to his son. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
When he said that, I thought, wait a minute here. All of these people that are speaking about Kash and saying he doesn't want to pay this, he doesn't want to pay that, he took his full educational benefits
Mm-hmm.
and he gave them to Colby
Mm-hmm.
because that's what he could give him.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought,
but all these stories of he doesn't want to pay this, or he has never paid child support, those people are so sadly misinformed.
right. And the reality is, number one, to be honest with you, my perspective is this: why should you have to pay for something like that? If you were the one that didn't want the divorce, your wife wants a divorce, and I don't know what all the dynamics there were, so maybe I misspoke speaking on this. But I would say that if you want to leave, you can leave, but you don't get to get rewarded for this. You don't get to rob my retirement. You don't get to take these funds away from me. Kash is on military retirement.
Mm-hmm.
And is he also disabled as a veteran?
Yes.
So he's a disabled veteran, 20 years honorable services, and they take that money that's supposed to be for his disability and his retirement after serving 20 years in the military. They don't make great pay.
No, they don't.
That's why they get the military benefits afterwards. Mm-hmm. And they take that from him.
Mm-hmm.
What does he live on then? Disabled and I know that there's degrees of disability. But it seems to be very unjust, and that's where, again, he gave up his educational benefits
Mm-hmm.
for his son. How much more blood can you bleed from this turnip?
Absolutely, but thankfully, Kash was brought up in a very poor family, although we didn't view ourselves as poor, we just didn't have the most expensive things that every other household had.
Right.
We didn't know we were poor.
Yeah.
But, we had to grow up to find that out.
Yeah.
But either way, Kash learned at a very early age how to live thrifty.
Yeah.
How to do things for yourself. And to be happy with the small things. It just doesn't take him a lot. And it's a good thing because he doesn't have the money to do the things that, anybody might want to do once they've retired.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing about the children is as well, the courts think that we need to have all this money for the children. But you mentioned about growing up with, being poor, whatever. I remember growing up as well. And it was a different age or whatever, but we didn't have a lot. But you know what the happiness was? Having a family that was together.
Right.
There's a lot of things that children can not notice as long as they have their mother and father together. Mm-hmm. And there are still things that I know I respond certain ways and I do certain things because I remember my childhood.
Right.
And but the best thing for the children is to be reared when at all possible in an intact family, natural mother and father, and be surrounded by strong extended family.
Absolutely, absolutely. You'd mentioned about your grandmother there, and my grandmother was my best friend
Mm-hmm.
when I was a little girl.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandpa, he was he liked to dip snuff, and he always kept a red trail of spit down the side of his face
Right.
there and stain on his shirt, you know. But he would grow peanuts for us kids, you know, so we always had peanuts.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, and he's the one that taught us how to fish, and
yeah,
my grandmother taught us how to clean the fish, you know.
yeah,
But it was the grandparents, and then Cash had my mom and dad. They basically raised Cash and his older brother Philip.
yeah,
Um, and so he got a lot of wonderful memories with them.
yeah,
You know, and that's important for
Yeah.
children, because
Yeah.
I know that even today, you know, I just became a great grandmother, and never
Wow.
thought I'd live to see that, and
Wow.
by the grace of God, I did.
yeah,
But I'm excited to have this new baby in the family. You
Right.
know, that I lived long enough to have a
Yeah.
great grandchild. You know, and it's important to have a bond with those grandchildren.
Mhm.
And my little granddaughter that is the new mama. You know, I've had a bond with all of my grandchildren,
Mhm.
but just a very limited bond
Mhm.
with Caden and Kaylee.
That is a shame. Because it's like you're saying, I mean, when you're talking about these things, my mind is flashing back to my grandparents.
Yeah, I think about them every day. You know,
Yeah.
it just
Yeah,
they provided so much. You
Yeah.
know, and every time I would bake the, you know, Caden and Kaylee or any of the grandchildren sweets that they're not supposed to have. You know, or take them to the drive-through they're not
Yeah.
supposed to go through.
yeah,
I'm thinking this is not much different than my grandma making me tea cakes.
I know.
You know, or
Yeah.
having a peanut butter and banana sandwich out down by the pond.
Yeah.
You know.
yeah. My grandmother, the thing that I loved was the tea. You know, I remember that she had, I think it was red rose tea or something like that, and I mean, that was the only place I ever got to have tea.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, hey, it was still something. It was a memory there. And I mean, the other grandparent, I'd go to, you know, when I went to my other grandparents' house, I mean, there was always the penny jar. There was always a quarter in there too. That was with every week that was in there. There was the M&M jar. There was a cookie jar.
Uh-huh.
And the first thing we did, boom, you know. But that's where we went. And
Right.
she had them there because she knew her grandchildren were coming over
Mhm.
every week.